Hi, this is Mike Brown, owner of Death Wish Coffee Company. Welcome to Fueled by Deathcast.
I love Jeff, but sweet and hot. Whoop, Mr. Motorama coffee spot.
Death Wish Coffee presents Fueled by Deathcast, the world's strongest podcast. With your hosts, the incredible Jeff and the amazing DMAN.
Welcome, everybody, to the first show of the year. And as always, I am the incredible Jeff.
And I am D-Man.
Yes, you are. And you are amazing. And we want to wish everybody out there a happy new year.
Secret code unlocked. Discount of death.
And there it is, right off the bat. This time, all week, if you want to make a purchase on any of the delicious Death Wish coffee products out there, type in New Year at checkout.
Yeah, and that'll be just one word, N-E-W-Y-E-A-R. Yes,
Yep.
I can spell, Jeff.
Yes,
I saw
you
that
can.
look on your
Yes,
face.
you can.
So if you punch this in at your checkout, you'll get an awesome discount on anything coffee products. So if you buy our K-Cups, or if you buy, a pound of ground, 5 pounds of ground, 5 pounds of whole bean, you'll get an awesome discount.
Because we love all the merchandise, obviously, at Death Wish Coffee, but we are all about the coffee.
Yeah,
and we want to keep you caffeinated all year long.
I mean, we love making the customized merchandise and apparel, but I mean, we wouldn't be here making this awesome merchandise and apparel if we didn't have the coffee to get us there, man.
Science!
All right, so the beginning of the year, there's going to be a lot of cool science-y stuff happening this year as the year proceeds. But first and foremost, in January, in a couple weeks, we are going to be launching a deep space atomic clock.
I'm always on the edge of my seat, ready to get scared.
No, this isn't
ridiculous.
scary. Last week we
Space
talked.
is scary, man.
Yeah, a little bit. Last week we talked about atomic time a little bit with the leap second and how, what exactly is atomic time. And all of our atomic time is derived, obviously, from the Earth. And the Earth's rotation changes. It slows up, it speeds down. It speeds up and slows down. There we go, yeah. And
I like spleeting, though.
yes. And so it's not as accurate as it absolutely can be. So we're launching a miniaturized, ultra-precise mercury ion atomic clock into space to basically not only help out our GPS system on the ground, but it's also going to help our mathematicians plot deep space missions.
What's it look like?
It's really tiny. It looks like a little cylinder.
Oh, it looks like a lightsaber.
Yeah, it looks like a lightsaber, but it's very, very tiny. And it's going to be orbiting the Earth in space. And basically what this means is last year, we as humanity did something incredible. We landed a spacecraft on a moving asteroid. Now, that took tons of math, tons of scientists, and a couple of years to position it all and to make it happen. And even it had its problems, but we did it. This atomic clock being in space is gonna make those computations even easier. In fact, it's gonna be so accurate that scientists are gonna have to now think about relativity and the way that time and space actually interact with one another to actually compute their mathematical equations, which to you and I sounds crazy and super hard,
No, I'm
but for a
lost.
mathematician, they're so excited about this.
So what is this thing actually picking up or reading?
It's what it is it's measuring time from atomic time, which is based on, atoms.
Yeah.
But it's doing it in space.
So is it reading atoms as it floats in space? and
It's reading
figuring out
our
time?
perception of time floating in space. So therefore, it's going to be a much more accurate perception of time rather than being on Earth, where it is affected by the rotation of the Earth in the solar system. So this is going to be that much more accurate. Yeah, it's pretty cool that something this small, this minuscule.
How far are we sending it?
It's going to orbit the Earth, so it's
Oh,
not
cool.
too far, but it's going to be in space. So it'll be outside of the confines of how time is affected on our planet.
I always imagine you talked about landing on the meteor, and something like this will help us do that.
Correct.
and I'm always thinking about like the meteors have a lot of precious minerals and materials and metals on them.
Yes.
And I always think about how much money is just floating out there, and there's got to be crazy millionaires, billionaires everywhere. Like what's his name?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Yeah, and he's. Man, there's so much revenue. And
it's
just
funny that you bring
there.
that up, and not to go too far into our science discussion, but also this year, in the next couple months, we are going, for the first time ever, going to be looking at mining an asteroid that is coming close to the Earth. Now, we've taken a lot of material from asteroids that have hit the Earth before, but we have never actually taken it before it has been burned up in space. We've lost some of those elements because they've been burned up through our atmosphere. So for the first time, we're actually going to land a drill basically on an asteroid, drill into it, and then rocket off the asteroid and come back to Earth with that material. Which is very cool.
That there's a lot more asteroids and meteors that don't hit us than do. So there's just much more possibility out there.
And what's awesome about that is that kind of experiment and that kind of mission is now going to be that much easier because of this minuscule atomic clock that's going to be floating in space.
And as soon as they hit like the first jackpot, as soon as somebody comes back, like, look at all the money we made from this meteor. Everybody's going to get behind it. Space funding is going to go through the roof because we're going to see the potential. I actually kind of like this idea.
You're going to see a lot coming from space in 2017. I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about it in our science bump. But I mean, not only with this atomic clock and also mining an asteroid, China's space program is becoming that much more relative now. They are working on their International Space Station. They're going to be landing on the moon and drilling on the moon this year. We have some incredible deep space stuff happening this year, including Juno going to be flying into Jupiter at some point.
That gas cloud.
At some point. So there's going to be a lot of cool stuff. So keep your eyes on the sky.
Most of these science sections tend to freak me out. This one motivates me.
Awesome.
I'm excited for the future, Jeff.
Awesome.
What fuels you?
So this week, we are so excited to have this guest on. He is the voice of all the bumps, including that one that you just heard, the incredible Brock Powell. He's so much fun to talk to, and we'll get to him in a few short minutes. But the theme of this episode is really about kind of not just setting a goal. This is the new year. Everybody, thinks about, the path that's laid out for them in that next year, and that's kind of where we're at. Half the battle is actually setting a goal. I'm going to do this, or I see myself being this, or I'm going to, get this job or do this, better myself in this way. But the other half of that is the path you take to get there. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really poignant and something that, is good to think on, especially, starting a year out.
I mean, just talking about things that are in your control and are out of your control.
Correct.
Things that are in your control are the goals that you set. Those are things that you have a choice on and that you can change if you so decide. But the journey that takes you there, you have a lot less decision.
Right.
And I think that's why it's so special.
Totally.
Because it's always unexpected, and it never goes the way you think it's going to. But I find if you set those goals correctly, you end up getting there,
right?
One way or another.
And it's a lot about finding your voice. If you want to pursue a career, you set out to put the right pieces in place to get that career. Either get the education you need, or line yourself up with the right people to get there, but those are just the pieces on the board. The way that you play with those pieces and get to that end game is different for everybody. The way that you find your voice in getting to that end goal. And I look at we were talking off pod actually, and I look at my life, where I was at the beginning of 2016 and where I am now at the beginning of 2017. Totally different story, but still on that same path, still on that same place, going the places that I want to go. but I took a lot of different lefts and rights that I wasn't expecting,
Yeah.
you know, like, and it's interesting, the way that I'm finding my own voice, you know, and the way that, you know, you are too, or you, the listener out there, I'm sure. It's always interesting to kind of look at the big picture and see how you want to get there, and the different, you know, avenues that you might be taking that you weren't prepared for.
Yeah, and this is something that Brock touched on when we talked to him, and you'll hear it later in the interview, is that he kind of voiced his goal out into the universe.
Yes.
And I think sometimes just saying things out loud to the universe so it can hear you, and you hear it, and everybody around you hears it, helps you get there. Kind of sets things in place. I don't know. Do you feel that way?
I totally feel that way. I'm a big proponent of saying it, doing. You know, doing it is one thing, but like if you say it out loud. Here's a great thing. About 6 years ago, I quit smoking cigarettes. You know, the day that I quit smoking cigarettes, I said it out loud. I didn't allow it, and it took me. This isn't a, you know, pat me on the back. It took me 5 separate tries to actually quit smoking.
Yeah.
But on that 5th try, I woke up that morning and said, I'm not going to smoke cigarettes. I'm done. I quit smoking cigarettes. And I've never looked back.
It's weird. It's like you're casting a spell almost. But
Right.
It's real, man. You got to say it out loud, and it helps you set your focus.
Yes, totally. And, you know, we hope that everybody has a good focus going into 2017, because there's no better time to be optimistic, you know, than the beginning of the year. And we're optimistic for Fueled by Deathcast. We're loving all you listeners out there, and all your sharing and liking and rating and reviewing us and telling all your friends about us, because we have some pretty cool stuff planned for this year, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited. And we're setting our goals all the time. We're putting them out there out loud, and we have some really cool guests that we have in mind for you guys, and I'm really excited to bring it to the table.
Yeah. And speaking of goals, sometimes, like we said, it takes a little bit to get to that point. And we wanted to address something Death Wish Coffee-wise, actually. We had a goal with this company to bring the delicious nitro brew to the masses by the end of 2016. And we know a lot of you were wondering, well, it's not out. What happened?
Yeah, we tried so very hard, and there's a lot of things that come into play when you take on an endeavor like this. It's
something we've never done.
Yeah,
you know, like,
and so there's a lot of logistics that come into play, like how are you going to ship it?
Right.
How's it going to get there, and what are you going to put it in?
Right.
And we don't want to cut any corners. We want it to look, I mean,
we want to be 100% happy with this when we send it to you, so you're 100% happy with the product.
So, I mean, a lot of this is, for example, we're customizing the box.
Oh,
the box
yeah.
is going to look awesome. Once again, Thomas Dragonetti hitting it out of the park.
Yeah.
And when this shows up to your door, it's going to look top notch.
Not
and
only-
you're going to be really happy with it.
Not only are you going to love this nitro brew, but you're going to get a highly collectible box with the nitro brew. You know, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And so everything's falling into place just, you know, a little bit later than we expected, but most of all, we just want to make sure we're bringing you a top-notch product, bottom line.
Totally.
The Death Wish Death List.
Unfortunately, this list is a little long. We lost a lot of important people this last week. And first and foremost, Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, had a heart attack and died very young at 60 years old. Obviously known for, you know, bolstering Star Wars and the entire ethos of that community, but also, you know, huge star. She was in one of my favorite comedies of all time, The Burbs. She had an amazing part in When Harry Met Sally. She had a bit part in 30 Rock with Tina Fey, which was hilarious.
She had a bit part in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back,
yes.
too, as a nun. That was,
so
yeah.
good. But she was also, a lot of people don't know, an accomplished writer. She wrote a couple different memoirs, Wishful Drinking, Postcards from the Edge, and The Princess Diarist, among others. And some of those actually were turned into stage plays and also documentaries on HBO that you can see a couple of those now. And also, unfortunately, after she died, her mother, Debbie Reynolds, had a stroke and died actually while planning her funeral. And it's just so sad. Debbie Reynolds was 84. She was also a very accomplished actress. In fact, Carrie Fisher was known as Hollywood royalty because both her mother and father were both pretty big in old school Hollywood. In fact, Debbie Reynolds got her breakout role as the leading lady in Singing in the Rain. And she was also in How the West Was Won. And she was in 1,000 different movies. And she even got new life in her career portraying a reoccurring character on the Disney show Halloween Town. So the younger generation even knew who this person was, and we lost her as well. Also, we lost singer pop star George Michael. 53 years old, died suddenly at home. Obviously, he is best known for his solo work and also his work with the group Wham in the 80s. He wrote Last Christmas, which is one of his biggest hits. And in fact, only him and Mariah Carey you can think of as writing new Christmas music in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
And he's also known, obviously, for his highly successful album, Faith, including the single, and also Freedom and many more. He sold over 100 million albums worldwide. And he was named the most played artist on British radio between 1984 and 2004. And finally, we lost Tyrus Wong, whose real name was Tai Yao. He was 106 years old.
Jeez.
And he's very little known.
He was 2 George Michaels old.
Yeah, he was 2 George Michaels old. He's very little known up until recently. He was an incredible Asian American artist, and he actually paved the way for a lot of Asian American artists. He came over here in the 20s at the age of 10 with his father, leaving his mother and his sister in China, never to see them ever again.
Wow.
And he dealt with the terrible immigration laws at that time, coming over from China to California.
Was that during World War II?
No, that was before that. That was when
man.
we had Chester A. Arthur had made immigration laws, and it made it harder for Chinese people to come into America, so they had to do some loopholes to even get in here.
Oh, wow.
And then when he was in his 20s is when World War II happened. He was lucky enough not to have to go to the camps.
Yeah.
Wow. But a lot of his friends did. But he ended up, working really hard, and he got an art degree, became a landscape artist, and then started to work for Disney as what they called an in-betweener. He was the guy that would do a lot of the animation, the busy work cells, because animation is thousands and thousands of cells. So he would do a lot of that stuff, and then learned in the mid-30s that Disney was trying to take on this movie called Bambi, and they kind of were at an impasse. They didn't know how to do it. So he threw his hat into the ring and was like, I'm a landscape artist. I know how to do this. So everything that you see in Bambi, that's all because of him.
Yeah, and it is very landscapey, isn't it?
Nobody knew his name forever and ever and ever. But he has had his art in the Art Institute of Chicago multiple times, right next to Picasso and Van Gogh. And so he was thankfully celebrated later in his life.
One thing I want to address before we move on, I mean, it's inevitable. We're all going to die.
Yeah.
And the reason why we go over this death list, because it's not about the deaths. It's about what they did on the way there. Like we talked about earlier, it's about the journey, man.
We are all fueled by death.
Yeah.
That's the name of this podcast. We are all fueled by the inevitability that we will be leaving this rock one day, and we want to do the best we possibly can with the time that we're given, and every day is a gift. And death wish you a happy birthday, though, this week. Actor and internet meme god Nicolas Cage is going to be 53 years old this week. Shock rocker Marilyn Manson is going to be 48.
Yes, they are the same person.
Yes, they are the same person.
We just proved it right there.
And one of the most incredible minds of our generation, Stephen Hawking, is turning 74 years old this week. Yes. And finally, we're going to do something again that we've only tried once. It's giveaway time, everybody.
I'm super excited. So we have this item from Planetary Design, and Planetary Design makes our vacuum-sealed coffee canisters, which people love so much. Well, they also make this thing. It's called a desk press, and it's a thermal travel thermos.
Yep.
That doubles as a French press, so you can make your coffee in your thermos.
It's so cool. It's a one-stop shop for your coffee. It can sit on your desk. You can make it right there and then start drinking it. And we're going to give this away to you guys. We'll actually put a picture of this up on some of our social media. But all this week, all you got to do is post about the podcast and make sure you use the hashtag Fueled by Deathcast, all one word. And you can do that on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you do it on all three, that's 3 chances to win. So each different social media platform that you post on, and it can be a picture of you listening to the podcast, it can be a share of the podcast,
be a picture of your dog.
Yeah.
As long as it has the hashtag Fueled by Deathcast,
as long as it says hashtag Fueled by Deathcast, you'll be entered for that chance to win, and we'll announce the winner on next week's podcast. And we're going to take a short break right now and give you this week's update.
DMAN's Death Wish Update. Brought to you by Death Wish Coffee.
It's that time again, Jeff.
It sure is. So, first one of the year, what do we got in store, D-Man?
So a lot of people are wondering about the 2017 Death Wish mug.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to address that right here and right now, Incredible Jeff.
Yes.
So we had a first run of the mugs, and they were a bit smaller than we wanted them to be. They weren't like a full coffee size mug.
Right.
So what we decided to do was release it a little bit lightly of just that shorter run on Amazon and just like at Saratoga Coffee Traders, and we have a few here at HQ, but there wasn't that many made, and we just weren't fully satisfied with the way they came out. So we talked to Deneen Pottery and had the adjustments made, and those are being created right now, and when they come in, we'll have a big release on our website of the mug that we want people to have and be happy with.
And we noticed a lot of you guys talking about this online lately, seeing them crop up on Amazon, and worried that maybe it was a third-party seller or something that wasn't being promoted by Death Wish. But this is directly from us. We just wanted to do something, kind of make lemonade out of some lemons there, and give you the chance to get this mug on an Amazon exclusive, so you can totally order it over there, but we will be having brand new ones on the site throughout 2017.
Right. And speaking about 2017, there's been a few things, out of stock from the holidays, and everybody bought up everything. But
thank you so much.
Fear not, everything's coming back. So there'll be Chemexes and AeroPresses and all the stuff that you've missed. We'll be back in no time at all. So
yeah. So
I'm on that ball. Don't worry, everybody.
We got a lot of restock coming. Speaking of, there's something new in the works, I think.
So speaking of restock, something that was very popular and sold out throughout the year very quickly was our vacuum seal canisters.
I love mine.
Everybody seems to love theirs.
I love it.
I love mine too.
Yeah.
It's just everybody loves theirs, which
Yeah.
is awesome. So
Yeah.
we decided to change the design a little bit for 2017. So that is in the works. We don't even have the proof yet. We're just leaking the news to you right
There you
now.
go.
So I think we'll see that probably in a couple months.
Awesome.
And we'll see that come out with a new design once again by Thomas Dragonetti.
Oh yeah,
'cause he's
awesome.
so awesome.
Well, so we got something to look forward to, and we'll talk to you all next week.
Cheers.
Oh, welcome back to the show.
I'm so excited about the guest this week. One of the coolest things ever this year was getting the chance to go down to Baltimore Comic-Con with Death Wish Coffee. It was so much fun. We met so many incredible people, and one of those people happened to be Brock Powell. I heard him before I met him because I was working the booth and I was selling coffee to somebody, and I hear in the background, "Oh yeah!" and I just turned and I'm like, who is this guy yelling at Dustin and Mike like over there? Like, what is going on?
He told me he was the Kool-Aid Man, and I was like, you can't just say that and not do it. I don't believe you unless you do the Kool-Aid Man voice at me, and he did, and he also showed me who he was on Wikipedia, and so he proved that he was the Kool-Aid Man in voice.
And we struck up an incredible relationship from there. We met up again at New York Comic Con. We did that really funny bit where he had his first day on the job as a Death Wish Coffee employee. If you haven't seen that, that's over on the blog.
That was great. I wasn't there for that, but I saw the video, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's over on deathwishcoffee.com, their blog over there. But yeah, this is one of the best conversations we've had so far on this podcast. He's such a joy to talk to, and we can't wait for you all to hear his incredible journey of becoming a voice actor is pretty darn inspiring.
Yeah. So, Brock Powell, everybody.
The Fueled by Death guest.
I'm not ready. I haven't rehearsed. Here we go. I call this the impressing chicks at a bar list. These are the voices I go through when I'm trying to just make conversation with people. If Kool-Aid doesn't work, if the oh yeah doesn't work, because what happens is somebody will be like, oh, this is the Kool-Aid Man, and I'm like, people are gonna think it's a weird nickname.
Right,
like I'm kind of round. If it's hot, I'm red already, so like people are gonna think it's
you burst through walls all the time.
Right, and so let's see. Well, gosh, hiya, pal. It's your old pal, Mickey Mouse. Obviously, I'll skip Goofy. Hello there. Oh, bother. I have a rumbly in my tumbly.
Hey, pal. It's your old pal, Peg Leg Pete.
What's up, Doc? You're despicable.
You are making me very angry. Hi-ho there, Kermit the Frog here. Fozzie Berryvin.
This is Gonzo the Great. I like chickens.
On the mo. Hey, man, Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, brother. Yeah, Ruby Roo. Donnie. Hey, exit stage left even.
Oh my God.
To infinity and beyond. Buzz, come on. You are a toy. You're a child's plaything.
Okay, so Brock, voice acting is, something that everybody wants to do, but no one knows anything about. Can you talk a little bit about getting into the business of being a voice actor? Like, did you just fall into it, or did you set out to be the next, biggest voice in town? Like, how did it all come to be for you?
I want to say fall into it because it's just a funny boom boom, like into a booth. So I've been an actor most of my life. I went to college to do musical theater, and when I graduated, I was at a crossroads of just trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do. And any part of the acting industry, whatever it is, film, television, theater, or what we as voice actors call the face acting. I'm just kidding. But it always bothered me that, it's voice acting and then acting. I'm like, well, no, it should be face acting or flesh acting or
right. Yeah,
facting,
totally.
Whatever you want to call
body
it. Right?
Acting.
Body acting. Oh,
Yeah.
You're a body actor.
Yeah.
Whatever part of the industry you go into as a performer, there is just a lot of drama associated with it. So you have to figure out obviously we know the tropes of, oh, I want to be a television actor, so I have to deal with body image issues and moving up to LA and meeting people and waiting tables and,
Pilot
avoiding
season.
casting couches, pilot season, like all those things that
Yeah.
you think about. Theater's got its own. You're not making a lot of money and you're fighting for not many jobs. And most of you guys are going to end up on cruise ships doing ABBA covers for, the rest of your life. And it's like the reality, right? And I can only sing Mamma Mia so many times.
Yeah.
So there was a crossroads that I was at where I was just about to graduate college and get my degree in theater. And I went to a school in Orange County and had an amazing theater program that I was a part of. So my final semester, I actually kind of took a trip around the world and didn't need the credits, just really wanted to have this experience, and went to 7 different countries and studied different topics. But I was a theater major, and all these things that I was studying were like Cold War history and like the socioeconomics of Argentina and things that I didn't need to do, but I just wanted to go visit these places and have these experiences. And while I was in Israel, and the longtime voice of Mickey Mouse, Wayne Allwine, had passed away.
Yeah.
At some point at that time. And because I was so far away, the news hadn't reached, but I literally saw it in a paper, and they announced the actor who would be succeeding the role and taking over it, or that there was an actor that they had found to continue the voice. And it was just one of those weird things. Like I was reading this, and we were hiking like on a mountain. Like I'm looking at this thing. We're going up to some museum on top of like a cliffside there.
Yeah.
What would be the theme music playing at this scene that you're painting right now?
You could go so many ways with it. Of Hobbits pops in my head just because I love the right. Yeah, because it really was like when I pinpoint that moment. So I'm reading this paper. I'm like hiking, and it's not like a straight slope up. It's like a clearly like touristy pebbled path, but it's up a mountainside. And so this this girl who was in this group with me, who we hadn't spoken a whole lot, but she's very sweet, and she and I were walking together, and she looks at me and she's like, "What is the weirdest thing you could see yourself doing with your theater degree?" And I hadn't really thought about it because it was like, I am a big picture person, but I've always kind of just been like, I'll figure it out. And I said, it was part of this experience. It was part of like the reality of like, oh, wow, the voice of Mickey Mouse passed away. I'm affected by that. That's really bizarre. I'm 22. I never met the guy. Why is this bothering me? And realizing, oh, it's the character, is what that character had an impact on me. And then kind of when she asked the question, it was like, oh, I want to have that impact on kids. I want to take my acting and move people that way. And so it just kind of came out of my mouth. I was like, I want to be a voice actor. I want to take over for a Disney character someday. And it was like, it just popped out, and that changed my life.
Wow.
Like saying that and the feeling after I said it, that was the first moment. And like, there's no plan. There's no like, here's how to be a voice actor.
Right.
Like there's 1,000 different ways. I just knew that I wanted to work for Disney and do that. So what I did was, the genie in Aladdin was always a huge inspiration. I had auditioned throughout college for the role of the genie at Disney's California Adventure. And so I sing, and musical theater is kind of the thing. And I've always been a character actor. But when you guys know me, I'm I'm a big dude. When you're my height and size, there's a limit to what kind of parts you can play.
Right.
I don't care how many times they call me back. I'm never going to get Maria in Sound of Music. It's not going to happen.
In my mind, it's happening.
I believe in you, Brock.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
So I auditioned for this part and got a callback to be the actor who portrayed the genie in this musical show that they did. And that had been the dream. Just in general, Disney had always been a thing I was really a huge fan of and really enjoyed. And so I did the callback, and I did Friend Like Me. I did the impressions. I did all the stuff. It basically came down to like, you were great. You did the job. You auditioned. The song was great. The impressions were great, but you're too fat. And I remember, right, for a part of a thing that's not even a real thing. Like,
Right.
Like, wait, kids are going to believe that I'm blue, but not that I'm fat.
Right. Come on.
Right. And so that was that. I left that audition with this deep conviction that started with anger, like all great movements. And I said, acting is about pretending, and I am done. I am done being limited as an actor because of the way I look. And the next day, there was another audition at Disneyland for Turtle Talk with Crush, which was the show, right? It was a show they did where actors would take on the role of the turtle and digitally puppeteer. And
Yeah, and he interacts with kids. My nephews are like in love with Crush, and like when they go to Disney World or Disneyland, that's their jam. Is that?
Dude, I only did that for a little bit, but it connected everything together, from that literal mountaintop experience to what I was feeling at the audition to getting behind the mic and being like, "Oh, dude, you so totally rock, Chaw." I was like, that is it. I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm going to chase this, and this is the thing that I will pursue now. So I stayed at Disney for a couple years, and I took on some different roles there. And in the meantime, decided I wanted to be a voice actor. So I went up to a group in LA, and it was like past guests include, and I flipped over the brochure. It was like Joey Fontaine or some weird people that I didn't care about. And I was like, eh. And then down the thing, it was like Bill Farmer, voice of Goofy, was a past guest. And I was like, like the Peter Griffin.
Yes.
I was like, I missed my chance. Goofy had been a favorite character, and I was a huge fan of Kingdom Hearts. I was a very lonely high school student.
Me too.
Right? So I had that brochure, and I was like, I missed him.
Yeah.
So I went back to my job at Disneyland the next day, and I don't really tell this part of the story, but for you guys, I'm gonna tell you all about it.
Exclusive.
Death Wish exclusive.
Love it.
I'm from Vegas initially, so small town boy, and I did not want to go back to Vegas, so I took jobs and I lived in some different living situations to stay out here while I figured out the acting plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a college professor who lived in the city of Orange, who ran a set building company. So they had a loft that was like a night watch apartment, because this studio was used for infomercials and tons of props, and just it was a huge old converted bank in Old Town Orange that is next to Chapman University. That was like it's just a huge warehouse. So to stay out here and to make it happen, I worked at Disney during the day, and then I went home and I was a janitor and lived in a warehouse above this infomercial studio. This is all true. And I did that for a while. And while I was cleaning like Cinderfella, I would listen to this podcast called Rob Paulson's Talkin' Tunes podcast.
Love that podcast.
Do you love that podcast?
I love everything Rob Paulson, and when he started a podcast, I was immediately on board. I listen to it all the time. Absolutely love it.
Rob Paulson changed my life. And every time I see Rob Paulson, to the point of annoyance for him, I'm sure, I remind him.
And just for all of our listeners out there, explain real quick who Rob Paulson is, because that's a pretty big name to drop.
Robert Paulson. His name was Robert Paulson. I will confess. So my best friend Austin is running the board behind me, and he makes that joke all the time. And without spoilers, I will say that Austin Farmer is Bill Farmer's son. So not to have spoilers, but
spoilers.
But
anyway, back to Rob.
I'm mid story. So anyhow, he was the voice of Raphael in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yep. He was the voice of Pinky, Carl Weezer. He's been a working voice actor since I think the early 80s, and is the nicest human being ever. He's the singer. He was Yakko Warner on Animaniacs,
wow.
And was the voice of a lot of our childhoods. He loves voiceover. He loves the industry. He is a true vaudevillian, a true showman, and he at some point started doing a podcast for himself and for other people, because voice actors really don't, even this sort of thing is rare for us. In the last 10 years, there's been a rise of like, oh, you actually know who these people are. Like there was that documentary, I Know That Voice, which was put together by John DiMaggio, who was Jake the Dog. Amazing.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, and that's still available on Netflix now.
Yes, it is.
That it's a wonderful, just a wonderful taste, I think, into what the world is. So Rob put together this podcast, which is still happening.
He's a busy man. He does it when he can, He is a busy dude,
and he is actually Donatello on the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles right now, which is awesome.
Which tickles me, because I grew up listening to him as Raphael, and now he's Donatello, and it's pretty special.
Roll change.
Yeah.
So I'm cleaning a warehouse,
listening to his podcast
in a French maid outfit, which I guess isn't important to the story,
yes,
but I wanted you to know that.
I got it.
So,
God.
So I'm listening to this podcast, and Bill Farmer is one of the guests. and I'm I'm listening, and he's talking about, you know, all his career and stuff, and then he mentions that he has a company that makes demos. And so in the voiceover industry, your demo is like a clip or a thing that you put together that represents what you do. So the face actors, the body actors, they've got headshots and video clips of their work.
Right.
A voice actor has like a 1 to maybe a 90-second sample of the different things they do. So Bill was talking with Rob that he had just started doing this and he'd been working with his son. So I took that opportunity and I wrote him an email, and he'd been looking to take on a student. Somehow I fooled him into letting that student be me, and that was about 5 years ago now. And yeah, changed my life. And they're like family. And
that's
incredible.
The story. Like, I mean, was there a moment of like terror when you're crafting that email? Like, I'm gonna write an email to Goofy, and I'm gonna hope that he's gonna read it, and maybe this can help my career. Like, I mean, that's a big step. Like, that's swinging for the fences right there.
There's a video circulating right now on the Facebook where Steve Jobs is talking about what makes the difference between someone who does and someone who doesn't. And he was like, ask for help. Like, I truly believe this, especially in the voiceover industry. Most everyone wants to help you. Like, just be honest and ask questions and just be nice. That's it. So Steve Jobs was telling the story about how he called the guy who was in charge of Hewlett Packard, whatever Hewlett.
Yeah.
He was like 15, and he was like, hey, can I have some extra parts from your computer? And he's like, sure. And then he gave him his job. And that guy is the reason Steve Jobs was Steve Jobs.
Wow.
But it all started with him asking for help. So I was like, mine wasn't that well thought out. I was like, well, if I suck, Goofy will tell me, and at least I won't be upset because Goofy tells me I'm not good at voiceover, and that's fine. Like, if I have to hear it from anybody, it might as well be from Bill Farmer, right?
Right, totally.
He hasn't said it yet, so it's
5 years later.
right?
You infiltrated your way into the Goof Troop somehow.
The Goof Troop. Well, it's funny because back and full circle with Rob and stuff, I am pretty much PJ. Like, that's pretty much who I am. That's sort of like oh, my dad's gonna squash me like a bug. Like, I'm
totally are. Oh my God.
Right.
So you get into the business, you get Goofy of all people to start teaching you the ropes. And for anybody who might have seen that amazing documentary, I Know That Voice, or who knows a little bit about the crazy bitch that is Hollywood,
Yeah.
I mean, that is a constant battle. What fuels you to keep like going out there and keep, plugging away at this? Because I mean, since then, in the last 5 years, you've had some pretty great accolades and some pretty great jobs, and I'm sure they're keeping coming. But what fuels you to keep going for that, to keep chasing that brass ring?
It's the characters. I mean, I just love these characters, and to this day, there is still a thrill. Like, I was in a booth with Frank Welker.
Wow.
I was in a room with Frank Welker, and for those who don't know, Megatron.
Yep.
Fred from Scooby-Doo.
Yep.
Every creature from every Disney movie in the last 30 years, from Abu to Raja to Pegasus, was Frank Welker.
He's pretty much the speed dial for, oh crap, we have a non-human character. Get
Right.
Welker on the phone.
And it's always fun to be like, who was that? Oh, it was Welker.
It was
the
Welker.
Martians and Mars Attacks with that. That was Welker.
That was him.
Oh my God.
The monkey in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I didn't know that. That's him?
Yeah, right? Bad dates. That was Welker. And that was the
my
same thing he did for Abu. He was Spike in the Gremlins. He was Cujo, the voice of Cujo. They couldn't get the dog
Yeah,
to
I knew that. Yeah, that's hilarious.
That's
they could
Yeah.
they could never get the dog was working for a different union, didn't want to actually talk on camera, so they had to get Welker to do it.
Really?
He was in the DOG union, which is just it's rough. Anyhow,
Good night, everybody.
so bad. Where are you going, Austin? Where'd you get a news? The dude's a legend, but that's kind of what fuels me, is not just being a fan of it, but it's being a fan of the characters. It's being a fan of, like, Jeff, you and I are crazy Star Wars fans.
Yes.
It's a collective unconsciousness. It's mythology. It's all these things that, like, we look at the Greeks and they're like, it's crazy. They believed in some guy. At least, no, these stories tell us about ourselves. These characters tell us about ourselves and each other. And as a storyteller first and an actor, I love it. And being a person that does not like doing the same thing every day, there is nothing that gratifies me more than waking up and not knowing, I got an audition for XYZ today, or they're bringing that character back and they want somebody to voice match him. Wow. It's like that kind of excitement. And this last year, I've gotten to audition for some amazing projects, including but I mean, it's just been a total thrill ride. But the real dream is to one day, like, to be where Bill is now, and to have someone come up to me and say, you changed my life with your performance and your acting. And voiceover fuels me because it is the ultimate pretend. You are in a room by yourself, and it is your job to create the scene, the environment, the stakes, and sometimes the other person you're talking to. Like, they used to record all together. Now they don't. So now I actually have to act for two people. I have to hear what you're saying. So if it's like a video game and it's like, get down, and then the other person says, no.
Right.
Well, then I have to act and respond to that. It's a real challenge. I mean, it's really, as an actor, like the ultimate challenge, because you never know what you're going to be asked to do. So that's really rewarding. You get to turn off the celebrity. Like, if you didn't tell people I did this voice, they would never know.
Right.
So you get to be a real person, and you really get to know people. And I love the anonymity. I love being able to do that. But I also love being able to, like, tell people, that was my voice, or I'm doing this right now, and seeing their face light up. Because it's not like, Brock, you're so cool. It's like, that character's so cool. That project's so cool. And I'm just chasing this feeling, the feeling of being in the booth and bringing these characters to life and doing what the job entails makes me feel so happy. And, like, it's an actual, like, when I'm not in the booth, I'm not sure what to do with myself. It's like, I don't know. Cause it is that much fun. It's so rewarding.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, man. Sorry. I'm
no, that's the, I mean, that's really great.
Pure gold, man. That's very sweet. I mean, the way your passion is behind it, even though I have no interest in voice acting, like, that just lights me up, and it makes me pumped to do what I love doing, because that's the feeling that we all get when we find that one thing that drives us, that fuels us, that rush of serotonin, and that feeling of belonging, and you're where you should be.
No, dude, and that's the thing, and like, it has empowered me, like, to be a better listener and to be more active, and, like, just having friends out here that are artists, and everything from, musicians to writers, and just getting to know people and saying, what's the thing that really, like you said, fuels you? What really drives you? What is it that you, if you had one shot to make something happen, what would it be?
Are we delving into an Eminem song right now?
or Hamilton.
Yeah.
So, jump. Take a leap. I don't know what it's going to look like, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but whatever it is that makes you happy, you have to honor that feeling, because that is life. That is your purpose. That is the thing. And it's not easy. Like, we kind of brushed on it a little bit. Like, I have had my share of success, and I'm so grateful for all the opportunities that I've had so far. But there's been a lot of disappointment. There's been a lot of tight months. But it's worked for me, and I'm not all that smart. So if another person told me, if there's something you want to do, and you're just as smart or smarter than the person doing it, you can do it too. And I assure anyone listening to me, I promise you're smarter than me. So just whatever it is you want to do, go for it.
That's great advice, and especially like how you said, like, like, just take the jump and be happy and open to what that brings. Actually, that just made me think of this. One of the things that draws me as a fan of your teacher there, Bill Farmer, every time Goofy jumps into something, even if he falls off a cliff, the wah-hoo-hoo-wee, which is terrible, excuse my voice acting, but he's stoked about it. He's stoked to be falling off that cliff, like, even though, like, it's gonna cause him, like, cartoon bodily harm, he still did it, and that's an incredible outlook and a way to kind of tackle what life is going to bring, what you can get out of life. Like,
Absolutely. I mean, it's just so, dude, it's so fun. I mean, for those who don't know, I've been doing the voice of the Kool-Aid Man for the last year, and to be able to,
can we get a taste?
Yeah, I can have some Kool-Aid mailed to you. That's not a problem.
I wouldn't trust it.
Oh yeah.
There it is. There it is.
Oh yeah.
The real laid back, lazy Kool-Aid Man just kind of pushes a brick aside.
Excuse me. Oh yeah. Excuse me.
I call that the Goulet Man because it's Robert. It's kind of like Robert Goulet.
Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
Oh yeah. Like it's just very.
Oh wow.
Over life, right?
That's a Saturday Night Live skit waiting to happen. The Kool-Aid Man. Come on, that's gold.
Right,
That
right.
is gold.
Well, do you know what the real dream is? I think I'm gonna do it. I really want to get, and you heard it here first.
Okay.
I really want to get an animated, just quick scene of Donald Trump cutting the ribbon at the wall when he builds the wall, and saying, you know, a lot of people said that it couldn't be done and that I was drinking the Kool-Aid, and Mike Pence is tugging at his sleeve like, sir. And I got to tell you, all the people that thought that I was drinking the Kool-Aid, I built the wall. I did it. The wall's done. And then it starts rumbling, right?
Oh my God.
And all the people on the other side are like looking wide-eyed, and then you just hear, oh yeah, and it's down.
Oh my God.
It's down. And we're done. I don't know.
Dude.
Do you guys have any connections to the Bernie Sanders people? Let's make it happen.
Dude, that's incredible. And you could do that in like a 2-minute like animated clip. That'd be so amazing. Is there anything that you want to plug that I know there's a lot of stuff, especially working actors that you're working on stuff that you can't actually announce yet or stuff like that. But is there anything that you're working on that you can actually talk about?
Yeah. So I'm on a show right now on Disney XD. You can hear me popping up every once in a while on Milo Murphy's Law, which is Weird Al's new show with the producers of Phineas and Ferb. It is
so cool,
so funny and uplifting, and like a really great message. It's a kid basically with he's got a Murphy's Law syndrome. He's related to the guy who discovered Murphy's Law.
Oh,
so
no.
bad things happen to him, and he has to learn to cope with it. And his friends have to learn to accept him, and wacky things happen. And it is so funny.
That's awesome.
The team behind it is so funny, and I'm just honored to be a small part of it.
That's so cool.
And then on, they're out now. I have to say, this last year, this is the thing that I'm most excited about, and it's stupid. Not stupid as a product, but we can cut that bit. It's just it's stupid. It's stupid how excited I am about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to take over and do Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Admiral Akbar, and Emperor Palpatine for some Disney Star Wars toys that are coming out this week.
I'm so excited that you get to talk about this too. Actually, when we were both down at New York Comic-Con this year, you actually got that job, and you were jumping up and down. You were so excited, and it's super exciting because that's some big shoes to fill. Like, even though it's just for some toys and stuff, it's like you have to be careful with those shoes.
I and of all those characters, I mean, the Akbar card is the most exciting because I'm like, who I got to say, it's a trap. Like, how is that not?
Oh my God, I want that as my ringtone.
Right? It is. I can't tell you how like exciting that was to do that. And
the toys
this
are really
Christmas,
cool.
kids they're Propel Star Wars drones. These are the top of the line. They're highly collectible. Available at Brookstone, Bed Bath & Beyond. The more I see about these toys, the detail is insane.
Yeah.
They go 35 miles per hour. They're battling drones. They've got the X-Wing. They have TIE fighters. They're going to have a Falcon coming out. They shoot lasers at each other. They keep score. The box, you open the box and it plays one of X amount of tracks of different voices and movie clips. It's astounding to me. And
So cool.
when they reached out and they went through the process to audition for it, I was like, oh man, that would be really, really cool. Because going back to like what fuels you, I always try to make a list or have like a goal. So last December, I wrote a list out. Join the union, get a great agent, and I'm not kidding, get my voice in a Disney toy. Because the first step, going back to that mountaintop experience, I want to be the voice of a Disney character. The first step to being somebody that they know can do the voices and the impressions is working with the consumer products and the toys, because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
So they do, there is a lot of opportunity to potentially work with these awesome characters. So on my list last year, I wrote, join the union, get a great agent, get my voice in a Disney toy. And as of this recording in December, it's all happened. So I'm just beyond thrilled, because it's like, this is better make the list bigger next year, right?
Yeah, you gotta make that list even shooting higher. Definitely. I mean, if you nailed it, you knocked it 100% out of the park.
Raise that bar, man.
Yeah, raise that bar.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I joined the union. I am at an agency called Vox Inc., which is, if you guys get a minute, take a look at who's there. I mean, I'm so thrilled to be like on the list with these amazing, talented people, and it's just been awesome. It's been such a fun ride. So being out here in LA, like you got to keep your own stuff going, because there's a lot of waiting by the phone. So a buddy of mine, Curtis Wah, who's a writer out here, we were like, he was working at a big production company at the time, and we were like, yeah, we got to do something so we don't lose our minds. And we both really love movies. And we had a conversation one day about how much we hated the Goonies mutually. And I was like, I've never admitted that to anybody because it's such an unpopular opinion. And he was just like, we should do a podcast. And then it just sort of went from there. And thus we started to call it the Unpop Podcast.
Yes.
It has grown. We are I think we just hit or about to hit 20 episodes. We're nearing our 20th episode.
That's awesome.
Curtis, Austin, and I, we get together. We call it the Unfiltered, Unpopular, Unimpressed is kind of our sort of, each of us represents one of those sort of movie monkeys with the, the hands over the eyes. And we just, it is so much fun. And if anyone's interested in like listening to it, we're on Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, and we have a good time.
It's one of my new favorite podcasts. No joke. You've been in this business now for a handful of years. And you've also been you kind of touched on this a little earlier. You've been in this business as it's gotten more traction. I mean, back in the day, people knew who Mel Blanc was, and that was probably it for a voice actor. Like nobody really knew that there was this industry kind of happening behind it. And it isn't until very recently that it is kind of the veil has been lifted and people are really starting to pay attention to it. Has that made your job as a dedicated voice actor going out for auditions and getting jobs, is it harder now? Is it more of a saturated environment?
That was a brilliant question, Jeff. Honestly, yeah, it has, because now it's one of those things that you kind of had mentioned it earlier. Voiceover is a thing people are aware of, and because they don't really understand or just know what goes on to become a voiceover actor and the process of voiceover auditioning, people think that we just go into a room and do a funny voice and it's easy to do. So the market has become saturated with a lot of actors wanting to get into it without necessarily understanding that just like anything you want to do, you have to be a craftsman, and you have to learn, and you have to put in your dues. And it's not something you can add to just do for fun and buy a microphone. And you can. There are websites. If your dream is to just do voiceover once in a while and have a thing, there are websites where voices.com, Voice123, they're called pay-to-play sites where you can audition from home and book jobs from home and work on like companies that are smaller on smaller budgets that just have little budgets and need talent to do like, come on, drink some Cactus Cooler. It's stuff, like you can. That's my Cactus Cooler audition, by the way.
We're gonna go with somebody else, but keep going.
Cactus Cooler is, every time I've gone to a laundromat, they have Cactus Cooler. I don't know if they've got some.
Oh, so it's a real thing? I thought you were literally just making it up.
There's no Cactus Cooler out here.
You guys don't know what Cactus Cooler is?
No, we're on the East Coast. We have real things like beer and soda and stuff.
6 inches of snow.
Yeah.
Cactus Cooler is like off-brand Squirt, if you remember Squirt.
I remember Squirt.
Ew.
Yeah,
so go one step to the side, right? Isn't that disgusting?
Yes.
But that's a real. Anyhow, I'll tell you what. When you guys come out here, I'm going to take you guys to a really nice laundromat. We'll go get some Cactus Cooler.
Sounds awesome. Can't wait.
There's been a surge of so the pay-to-play sites are set up because now with the internet, obviously we're not in studio together. And people can do sessions this way over Skype. So it's kind of changed the game a little bit, where companies now, and this is a good thing for people trying to get in, and a really bad thing for people who are union actors trying to remain steady. What happens is these sites allow a lot of people to compete for very few jobs. So think of it like, for years voiceover was like an eHarmony type of thing. There was a committed usership. Now it's Tinder. Now there are just so many options for each project. It's TMO. It's too many options, and it's just like what's going on with dating right now. There are so many auditions to listen to per project that it's really kind of changed the way the casting's done, and it changes the way the projects are handled. And what the danger is, what happens is actors don't have as much ability to just say, well, I don't want to do it because it's not fair at that rate. So what they then do is they can go to these sites and say, well, we can just find somebody who can do your voice at half the price, or would be willing to try it for half the price. And it really has kind of not been in the favor of the actor in long term. And going back to Mel Blanc, it's kind of interesting because he was fighting for a raise from Warner Brothers when he was doing those cartoons, or there was a talk of having some raises. And he actually was the first actor to say, keep the money, put my name in the credits as voice characterization.
Yeah.
I want people to know those are me. And there were other actors who did the voices, but Mel was the only one who negotiated for the credit.
And that's a big deal because, like I said, that's when people started to even know that, oh, wow, he's the man of 1,000 voices, and he's doing these characters that I'm watching. Like,
absolutely, but it was brilliant on a marketing standpoint. But there were other actors. Stan Freberg was a huge voice actor who did a bunch of the Looney Tunes. Elmer Fudd was not Mel Blanc originally. Porky Pig was not Mel Blanc originally. These are all voices that Mel inherited because he became the guy known as the Thing. And that's all to say, Mel is the godfather of voiceover. He is obviously an idol. And if anyone's interested in getting into voiceover, he wrote a book called That's Not All, Folks. And it's just a really interesting journey. I'm always fascinated by old Hollywood when people came out here in the 30s or even the 20s, and there was no plan. Like when I wanted to go into voiceover, I had no plan, but voiceover was a thing.
Right.
When these guys moved out, like Stan Laurel from Laurel and Hardy moved out at the turn of the century, lived here in LA, was Charlie Chaplin's roommate before silent films were really even a thing.
Yeah.
Before, like, he just had a dream and like kind of followed that passion. And I'm fascinated how things, especially when you go back and you read these memoirs, like whatever that is, and I know we're Star Wars fans, it is like some sort of force or something. Like it works out. It all comes together, and it's a really kind of cool thing. But you stinker. That's all to say. I think the trend right now, my prediction is what's going to happen is there's just going to be a lot of the work's going to get spread out to too many people to sustain any one type of person to do it full time. And I think there's always something to be said about focusing on the thing that you want to do. So voiceover is one of those things that people now think that they can do while they have other jobs. But
Right.
you guys know with music and stuff, that has to be your life, because all the hustle that goes into promoting yourself and booking the gigs and the practice that's required, it's really hard to do anything else.
Right.
And voiceover's no different. Like, yeah, we don't have to memorize lines. We don't have to even put on anything other than pajamas sometimes. But there is a lot. It's just like anything, just like focus. It totally is a craft, and I am constantly being reminded how much work and focus play a part in success on a day-to-day basis. And I just think but that's all to say also, I truly believe there's room in the pool. If somebody's passionate about it and really wants to do it, come do it. And don't let the fact that there are a lot of people competing for jobs scare you, because what's meant for you, I truly believe will come your way. So
That's incredible.
There.
Well, you know, man, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you on the podcast, and that's a lot of awesome knowledge that you dropped on us. And as I say every podcast, please check out brockvox.com, because you did all of the amazing bumps on the Fueled by Deathcast as well, and we can never thank you enough for all that.
you guys, I love you guys. You guys are awesome. And I'm so glad to be a small part of what you guys are doing. And I think this cast is so awesome and important and positive, and just stick with it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, man, you got it.
This has been Fueled by Deathcast, a Death Wish Coffee Company podcast production. Thanks for listening.